Hi guys, welcome to another video. I'm the Autistic Autist, and today I want to talk about the double empathy problem. So what is the double empathy problem? Dr. Damien Milton is an autistic academic and father, and he was the one who proposes a different interpretation of autism and empathy. And in his theory, the double empathy problem, he proposes that autism does not mean lacking empathy. As we all know, autists experience the world in a different way and we process information differently. But that doesn't mean that we don't experience emotions and that we don't feel anything in general. This just means that the whole process is a little different. And Milton now explains that that means that we autists have a problem understanding neurotypicals and their processing of emotions because it's completely different to ours. So we process our emotions differently and neurotypicals process their emotions differently. And two different things, as you probably can imagine, mean that it's not as easy for one party or the other to understand the other party. And Milton now says that is probably why it was thought that autists don't have empathy and lack emotions. Because neurotypicals didn't understand the way we processed and we experience our emotions. But this is a two-way street, so while the autists have trouble understanding the neurotypicals have problem understanding the autists. So that's what creates the lack of understanding for each other. Now, as a neurotypical, you are in a world filled with neurotypicals, so you mostly understand each other, and there are just those weirdos who you can't understand and who you then think don't experience this thing because it isn't there in the same way as you experience it. This means for an autist, we often are faced with trouble understanding others and trouble being understood. And as the minority, we are often trained to understand neurotypicals and their way of processing emotions, while the neurotypicals in general don't do that. They don't train to understand autists, since we are just a minority and most of them don't even know that much about autists. And that comes with the normal way of processing emotions seen as the right way to process emotions. Just because the neurotypical people think that's how everyone does it, so it must be the correct way. And how autists process their emotions is seen as the wrong way to process emotions and the not normal way. So the way autists communicate and emphasize and everything is kind of viewed as weird, strange, not normal. Everyday examples for this would, for example, be the typical we are all a bit on the spectrum, we are all a bit autistic, which neurotypicals think is a way to emphasize with us and show that we are also a bit normal and stuff like that. While for us it means that we are not accepted the way we are and that they've tried to minimize our feelings and our difference. Another example would be we telling something to others and they think it's a joke and are laughing about it while we are trying to be honest. Or when we are talking about something and want to highlight something on a person and it's seen as an insult. We are just talking about like, oh, they have this and that feature and are not thinking that any features are bad. To us, they are all like just facial features, and that person is insulted because it's generally by the neurotypical people seen as something that isn't that good. So as you can see, this can lead to problems for both parties. And it's just that the neurotypicals are way more, and so they don't really face that problem that often. And when they see neurodiverse people struggling, they just want to make them as much as they are so they don't face the problems, because in their opinion, they don't see themselves as having a problem in general because, as I said, they don't face it that often. And this leads to people trying to change neurodiverse people into neurotypical ones. A fun thing I want to mention is something that my psychologist told me. So there's this game where you whisper something in the ear of the other and then it travels. In Germany we say Stille Post. I have no clue how it's called in English, but I'm sure you know it. And the word changes because people kind of mishear stuff, and it's a funny game in general. And this was done in a scientific way, with neurotypicals talking to each other or whispering to each other, and neurodiverse people whispering to each other, and then a mixed group. And the fun thing was, and which shows that there is something true, at least, about this whole theory, is that the neurotypicals and the neurodiverse were able to communicate pretty well on their own. So both groups, there was no significant difference between them. But in the mixed group, they had serious troubles to communicate. So as we can see, it's the problem of those two different ways of communicating with each other, and not the two groups on their own. I hope this gives you an insight and shows you why we don't want to be changed and why we just want awareness to happen, because we just want it to be known that there's a different way of communicating and that there's not one way, and that we don't want to be changed in the other way. We just want to live the way we are, but we need help communicating with each other, the same way as you needed help to communicate with us. And today I want to talk about the double empathy. Double. Dr. Damien Milton, and Milton says, and Milton now with trouble understanding others and it's for a or an and we just want to live who are. Yeah, and then I hope you had fun with this video and it was interesting. I know it's a little shorter, but I think that's enough information to process and let go through yourself. If you have any questions, then just drop them in the comments. I'm happy to answer them. And thank you for listening, and I hope we will see each other in my next video. Bye!